Prior to his meeting, he had Googled things like how many prostitute murders go unsolved. Does someone scream if they're being strangled? These are...
On December 19th, 2024, a little boy turned 8 years old. His mama had promised to be there. She had already asked him what he wanted for his birthday. She called him Chicken Nugget, and she loved him the way only a mother can love her child completely, without condition, without limit. But December 19th came and went, and his mama never came home, because 6 days earlier, on December 13th, 2024, a United States Marine walked into her hotel room in Pensacola, Florida, and made sure she never would. This is her story. Her name was Tshey Bennett. Say it right too, Chay. She was 26 years old, Houston born and raised, a single mother, a student working toward her business degree, a best friend, a daughter, a woman who showed up to every baby shower, every gender reveal, every family event that mattered to the people she loved. Jessica Ramirez met Chay in middle school in Texas. They had been inseparable ever since.
Tshey was the most humblest, funniest girl I've literally ever met in my life. Like, there was not ever a dull moment
That's
with her.
That's a best friend describing someone she loved for over a decade. Not a character, not a cautionary tale. A real woman who made people around her feel alive. Jessica had just found out she was pregnant, and one of the first people she got to tell was Chay. That's the kind of friendship they had. The kind where you call each other first. The kind where you show up. The kind that doesn't come around very often. Chay was also somebody who made her living in ways that this world does not always extend grace to. She worked as an escort, she danced, she traveled state to state building her own income on her own terms. And we are going to talk about that honestly, because the way she made her money is exactly why the man who killed her thought he could get away with it. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. By December of 2024, Chay had moved to Northwest Florida. She was in Pensacola for a few days, working, and on the afternoon of December 13th, a Friday, she was at the Sweet Dream Inn off Plantation Road. At 3:31 in the afternoon, she posted an ad on Mega Personals. She was looking for a client. She asked for Cash App payment. Business as usual. What she did not know was that on the other side of that ad, a 20-year-old United States Marine named Willie Richard Ellington was already in motion, and he had been planning this since that morning. Willie Ellington had been stationed at Naval Air Station Pensacola since September of 2024. He was assigned to Marine Aviation Training Support Group 23, an aircrew trainee, 20 years old, just getting started in the United States Marine Corps. On paper, he was everything this country says a young man should be. But on the morning of December 13th, 2024, before he ever left that base, Willie Ellington opened his phone and typed something into Google that told a completely different story. He searched whether someone can scream while being strangled. Then he searched how many prostitute murders go unsolved. Let that sit for a second. He had not even met Chay yet. He had not even confirmed the appointment, and he was already researching whether his plan would work, whether anyone would come looking, whether he would get caught. This was not impulse. This was not heat of the moment. This man woke up on December 13th, 2024, and he planned to kill someone. At 9 o'clock that morning, Ellington rented a red Mazda CX-5 through Turo, a car-sharing app where regular people rent out their personal vehicles. He did not use a base vehicle. He went and got something that put distance between him and what he was about to do. Then, 55 minutes before he was scheduled to meet Tshey, he walked into the Navy Exchange on base and bought a 36-inch rolling duffel bag. 36 inches. 55 minutes before he knocked on her door. Think about what that means. At 2:10 in the afternoon, Chay texted him the address. She called him Boo. She asked how far away he was. He told her he was 30 minutes out. She had no idea. At 4:08 p.m., surveillance cameras at the Sweet Dream Inn picked up that red Mazda pulling into the parking lot. It parked directly in front of room 130. That was Tshey's room. The footage runs for 11 minutes. During those 11 minutes, the car does not move, and at some point during that window, someone peers through the curtains from inside the room. At 4:19 p.m., the Mazda leaves. Tshey Bennett is never seen alive again. Now here is where things move fast, because once investigators had that phone, everything unraveled. The Google searches before the meeting were damning enough, but what investigators found after the meeting sealed it completely. 90 minutes after that, Mazda left the Sweet Dream Inn parking lot. Willie Ellington was searching for defense attorneys. 90 minutes. He had not even made it back to base, and he was already building his exit strategy. Then, on December 15th, 2 days after Chay was last seen alive, he searched what a corpse looks like after 2 days. And on that same day, he went back and searched whether a murderer can be convicted without a body. Step by step, calculated, methodical, like a checklist. Clip plays.
These are, again, I said it's chilling, I said it's disturbing. That's all of those things with regards to this suspect in this case.
Meanwhile, Chay's friends were already sounding the alarm. They had been calling her since Friday afternoon. No answer. Her life 360 had gone completely dark. And for the people who knew Chay, a woman who stayed connected, who never let her phone go silent, that alone told them everything they needed to know. They started calling the hotel front desk, begging someone to go check on her, begging anyone to walk down to room 130 and knock on that door. At 10:22 p.m. on December 13th, the night she was last seen, a front desk worker checked on the room and noted the door was cracked open. Nobody went in. On December 14th, her family formally reported her missing. Investigators arrived at the Sweet Dream Inn, and what they found in that room told them immediately this was not a missing persons case. Her car was still in the parking lot. Her door was cracked open. Both of her phones were in the bathtub wet with 60% battery still left when they were powered off.
Was left open, her car was left in the parking lot, the phones were left in the hotel room. There was a cord, a PlayStation type cord that was found in the room, and the bedding from the bed was missing as well. Obviously, those were concerning to us.
Because investigators pulled the surveillance footage from work trucks parked in that lot. 11 minutes. The red Mazda. Room 130. The curtain moving from inside. They ran the plates, traced it back to a Turo rental. When they contacted the owner's daughter who handled the transaction, she told them something that stopped them. She said it was weird, because after the car was returned, the user profile had been deleted. He had tried to erase himself from the app entirely, but he had already left his name, his phone number, and the fact that he was military. That was enough. Investigators contacted Ellington on base. They told him about the missing persons report. They told him his vehicle had been captured on camera in front of her room. His response was not confusion. It was not denial. It was not, "I want a lawyer." He said, "How did you know that?" 4 words that told investigators everything. A search warrant was obtained. His phone was downloaded, and what came off that phone confirmed what the Google searches had already suggested. The text messages between him and Tshey. The Navy exchange receipt for the duffel bag purchased 55 minutes before he arrived. The searches before the meeting. The attorney searches 90 minutes after. The body decomposition search 2 days later. And investigators found something else. Something that had nothing to do with Tshey, but revealed the full picture of who Willie Ellington was. 35 charges, illegal and exploitative content involving minors, girls as young as toddlers, shared across multiple Telegram threads going back to April of 2024, months before he ever set foot in Pensacola. This was not a man who made one terrible decision on one terrible day. This was a man living a deeply disturbing life long before December 13th. Phone tracking data led investigators 50 miles east to Mobile, Alabama, an abandoned neighborhood called Birdville, a retention pond sitting in a wooded area off Cardinal Drive. On December 18th, 2024, 5 days after Chay was last seen alive, they found her remains. The day before her son's 8th birthday, December 18th, Chicken Nugget turns 8. There are no words for that kind of timing. There is just the weight of it. By the time her body was recovered, Ellington had already moved. He sold his belongings. He escaped the base. He boarded a Greyhound bus. And when law enforcement intercepted him at the stop in Opelika, Alabama, he gave them a false name. Even at the very end, he was still trying to disappear. Sheriff J. Jones' statement. Willie Richard Ellington was taken into custody on December 18th, 2024. The same day they found Tshey, he was extradited to Escambia County, Florida. At his pretrial detention hearing on December 26th, a judge held him without bond. He currently faces first-degree premeditated murder, plus 35 additional charges involving exploitative content with minors. If convicted on everything, life plus 475 years. Ellington made a calculation. He calculated that Chay's occupation would make her invisible, that nobody would look hard enough, that the case would go cold before it ever got started. But Chay's people never stopped making noise.
The person who did it, the coward, he thought, nobody was going to look for her, or it wouldn't, she was going to go missing, and that was just it. No one was going to care. Nope. Literally everybody was like distraught. Everybody was worried. We were all, trying to get to the bottom.
Clay's friends were calling the hotel front desk. Family filed the report the very next day. Jessica was speaking to every camera that would listen. The internet would not let Tshey's name go quiet. And that is a big part of why he got caught. Not just the evidence, not just the Google searches he left on his own phone, but because the people who loved Tshey Bennett absolutely refused to let her disappear.
Thank God, he's not going to get away with this.
So let's talk about what happened after that Mazda left the Sweet Dream Inn parking lot. Tshey's friends started reaching out that same evening, calling, texting, getting no response. Her life 360 had gone dark, and for people who knew Chay, a woman who stayed in contact, who never let her phone go silent, that alone was enough to know something was wrong. On December 14th, her family formally reported her missing. Investigators from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office went to the Sweet Dream Inn, and what they found stopped them cold. Her car was still in the parking lot. Her door was cracked open. Her phones were inside the room, both of them wet, sitting in the bathtub. 60% battery left when they were turned off. Not dead, not lost, turned off. Her bedding was missing. An electrical cord was found under the bed. Her eyelash was on the floor. Her earring was in the parking lot. When a sheriff describes a scene like that and his voice still carries the weight it does, you know what? Investigators walked into that room already knowing this was not a missing persons case anymore. This was a murder investigation. Investigators pulled the surveillance footage from work trucks parked at the Sweet Dream Inn. That 11-minute clip, the red Mazda, room 130, the curtain moving, they ran the plates, traced it to a Turo rental. When they contacted the owner's daughter who handled the transaction, she told them something that made investigators pause. She said it was weird, because after the rental was returned, the user profile had been deleted. He had tried to erase himself, but he left his name, his phone number, and the fact that he was military. That was enough. Investigators contacted Willie Ellington on base. They told him about the missing persons report. They told him his vehicle had been found on camera in front of her room. His response? How did you know that? A warrant was obtained. Investigators downloaded his phone, and what they found confirmed everything. The text messages between him and Chay planning the meeting. The receipt from the Navy exchange showing the duffel bag purchase 55 minutes before he arrived. The Google searches before the meeting asking whether someone can scream while being strangled and how many prostitute murders go unsolved. And then 90 minutes after he left that hotel room, he searched for defense attorneys. 90 minutes. He killed her, drove away, and 90 minutes later, he was already looking for legal representation. Then on December 15th, he searched what a corpse looks like after 2 days. And on the same day, he searched whether a murderer can be convicted without a body. He was not panicking. He was managing, step by step, like he had thought this through.
That he used her occupation to go after her. Like he felt like this was someone that he could victimize and get away with it. And I think that was important. This wasn't basically a random thing. He targeted this individual because he thought that her position would allow him to get away with it. He was wrong.
That right there is the motive. Plain and simple. He did not choose Chay by accident. He chose her because of what she did for work. Because he calculated that a woman in her profession would not be searched for, would not be mourned publicly, would not make the news. He was wrong about every single part of that. Phone tracking data led investigators to Mobile, Alabama, 50 miles away, an abandoned neighborhood, a retention pond in a wooded area. On December 18th, 2024, 5 days after Chay was last seen alive, investigators found her remains. The same day, her son was turning 8 years old the very next morning, December 18th, found December 19th, his birthday. That is not a coincidence that sits easy. That is the kind of detail that stays with you. By the time her body was found, Ellington had already moved. He had sold his belongings. He escaped the base. He boarded a Greyhound bus headed out of the area. When law enforcement caught up with him at the bus stop in Opelika, Alabama, he gave them a false name. Even at the very end, he was still trying to disappear. Lee County Sheriff J. Jones coordinated with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office to intercept him. Willie Richard Ellington was taken into custody on December 18, 2024. The same day they found Chay. He was extradited to Escambia County. At his pretrial detention hearing on December 26th, a judge held him without bond. Then investigators found something else on his phone, something completely separate from the murder case. 35 charges involving illegal and exploitative content with minors, girls as young as toddlers, shared across multiple message threads on Telegram going back to April of 2024. This was not a man who made one terrible decision. This was a man who had been living a deeply disturbing life long before December 13th. He currently faces first-degree premeditated murder plus those 35 additional charges. If convicted on everything, life plus 475 years. Tshey Bennett was 26 years old. She was a mother, a student, a best friend, a woman who made the people around her laugh and feel seen. She had a little boy who called her mama, and a best friend who considered her family, and a community that proved when the moment came that they were never going to let her be forgotten. She deserved more time. Her son deserved more time with her. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is that Willie Ellington made a calculated bet. He bet that Tshey's life would not matter to enough people. He bet that her occupation would make her disposable. He bet on silence. He bet on being forgotten. And love proved him wrong. But here is the harder lesson. There are women out here right now in the same position Chay was in, moving through this world in ways that make them vulnerable to the exact same calculation. And not all of them have a Jessica Ramirez making noise. Not all of them have a community showing up. Some of them disappear and the silence is deafening. So if you know someone, if you love someone, if there is a woman in your life whose safety you think about, show up for her now, not after, now. Because Chay's story is not just a story about a Marine and a murder. It is a story about who we decide matters and who we fight for when they are gone. Rest in peace, Tshey Bennett. Your life mattered. Your son is going to know that, and your story is going to make sure the next person who tries to calculate that a woman's life is disposable thinks twice. This is Deadly Affairs. I'll see you in the next one.